Nameco right here, Dustin over there, Fantasy Smack Talk, talking about fantasy baseball, talking about the outfielder tiers and rankings we got on Smack Talk. Dustin, tell them a little thing about a cheat sheet.
We have our cheat sheet up on the site, and it is 100% free, and we want you to download it. Click right here, go to the site, check out all the other tiers and rankings, check out our articles on the site. Lots of fun stuff. If you got questions, post them in the forums.
All right, so we got two guys in the first tier, and I bet you can guess them. It's Trout and Harper. These guys are pretty much going 1 and 2 in most drafts. Just beasts, both over 300 average is definitely plausible. Both between 40 and heck, maybe even 50 home runs. Very plausible. We still have Trout ranked ahead of Harper just because Harper's last year was really his big breakout year. But Trout, the one disappointing thing is he's not stealing as much as he used to. But regardless, these guys are both fantasy baseball studs.
Tier 2, a couple of interesting guys this year. A.J. Pollock's the first guy I want to talk about. Amazing year. I mean, don't get me wrong. This guy had an absolutely amazing year, but he is getting drafted really high so far in the early mocks and stuff going on with the draft. So we have him ranked accordingly. We think this makes sense for where he goes. Again, amazing year, 2020 guy. Just be careful with him. And then another guy to be careful with is Jose Bautista. You're going to see him ranked all over the place, but at 35 years old, you're just drafting him, hoping he stays healthy and keeps doing what he's been doing. But these guys are going to go early for a reason. Huge upsides again this year, and if they stay healthy, they will have big years.
All right, tier 3 got a couple of young guys. The first one, Springer, out there with Houston. And the thing about Springer is it's the power. How many home runs can this kid hit? Last year he only had 16, so is it plausible for him to make the jump to 40? We don't think so, but there's a lot of other sites out there that think he's the next big thing. Now, with that said, he does have a lot of pop in his bat, so he could have a good breakout year. And the next one's good old Mookie, do the right thing bets. Do you know where that comes from, do the right thing? I don't even know. Young kids out there. But here's the thing about Mookie that we really like. Dustin loved him when?
Last year?
Oh, did he love him last year?
Oh, I loved him.
Loved him last year. Got him on all of his teams. But this year it's going to be tough.
I loved him before he was even a starter.
He did like him before it was cool to like him. But it's going to be tough to get him on all of his teams this year because he's going a lot early in drafts because Mookie is a legit 2020 threat. I think that's going to happen. Looking at 20 home runs, 20 bags, pretty much locked in my opinion, for Mookie this year.
He could be 20-20, 100-100. It's possible. Let's talk about that Colorado outfield. It is a lot of fun. Charlie Blackmon, I want to talk about. 17 bombs, 43 stolen bases for him last year. I like his upside again this year. And then Carlos Gomez. I mean, obviously you could argue him being ranked higher if you're going just purely off of what he did last year because it was an amazing season. But the guy has just had so many injury issues over the years. So you know exactly what you're doing if you're drafting Carlos Gonzalez. You're hoping he stays healthy and repeats. But if he does stay healthy, there's a good chance he does.
All right, as we look at Tier 5, I'm going to start with Lorenzo Cain, and congratulations, Lorenzo Cain.
Good year.
Ridiculous year. He batted over 300, 16 bombs, 100 runs, 72 RBIs, and 28 bags. Just a good, solid year. Hopefully he repeats that. I don't see him increasing on those numbers. But the other guy to talk about is Corey Dickerson. He's only 26 years old, and he had a very disappointing year last year, considering he was a late first, second rounder, late first, sometimes carry him to the late first of drafts. Long story short, you dropped him really early and he did not return the dividends that you were hoping for. He is now with Tampa Bay, and sometimes when you're drafting, what's more likely? Is it more likely that he does what he did last year or come somewhere close to where we hoped he was going to be? I think he vastly improves on his numbers next year and you get at a big discount this year.
Same thing with Michael Brantley, who's just below him. Tier 6, couple of guys I want to talk about. Got to talk about Puig with the Dodgers. I mean, he's going to get overdrafted. I mean, I'll compare.
But I think he bounces back.
It's
but he will
definitely possible. But, I mean, he's going to get overdrafted. I kind of compare it to Bryce Harper a few years ago when there was too much hype where he was getting drafted 2 rounds too early and he wasn't ever producing to the degree of where he was getting drafted. This could happen with Puig. But Puig could get to the point to where he does what Harper did last year, but I don't know if it's quite time for that yet. But it's not a bad gamble, but just don't reach on him. And then Carlos Gomez. We tried to tell you. He wasn't worth the late first, early second round pick from last year, and it was a stinker. I mean, he was battling injuries. But if he can stay healthy, he could go back to what he was a couple years ago. But even when he was doing that, he wasn't worth taking in the early second round.
Never was. All right, tier 7, just talking about one guy, and that's a guy that can run really, really fast. We're talking Gump style here. Billy Hamilton. He had 57 bags last year on 93 hits. Now, granted, obviously he got walked and whatnot, but still, God, if he could just learn how to hit. He only batted .226 last year. If he could just pull it up, the amount of bags he gets ridiculous. But even with hitting .226, 57 bags, I mean, if you're in a rotisserie league and whatnot looking at that, I mean, you can just lock up steals. This guy's ridiculously fast. You were only drafting him for speed, though.
I'm going to talk about one guy in tier 8, and it's my boy, Adam Eaton. I'm still holding out hope that this guy is going to be a future batting champion. But even if he doesn't, he can help your fantasy team. I think he has legit 2020 potential. And again, I'm still waiting for that league-leading batting average. I think it's possible with him. He's had stretches. He just can't put it together for a whole season, but there's still a lot of hope there, and you're going to be able to get him for a good price on draft day.
So if you're late in drafts, looking like, who should I take, what do I need, and you really don't have speed, here are two guys that you need to just write down on the side if you need speed to look at. The first one's Kevin Pillar of Toronto. He had 26 bags last year. He batted .280-ish. And again, you're just drafting him because of the bags, but that's nice, and you're going to get him at a nice discounted value. Pillar actually had 12 bombs last year, so you get a little bit of pop. Now, the guy that I think will get more bags than him, but not as many home runs, is Billy Burns with the Oakland A's.
Billy boy.
Also 26 years old, 26 bags last year. I think he increases that number for the 2016 campaign. Again, these are two guys, deeper leagues, that you're looking at whenever you forgot about steals. Go ahead and grab them.
Two guys I like late this year, and I've always been a sucker for Jay Bruce.
You really?
Well, here's the thing. He's getting drafted in a spot where it's not a bad gamble. And that's going to be, again, the case this year. He hit 220 last year. You're not going to get excited about that. But there's still potential for power, obviously. He throws in some bags, and he's still young enough to where he could figure it out. I'm not giving up on Jay Bruce either. And then David Peralta is a guy that I am a big fan of as well. Solid average, solid power, solid speed. I think, and there's still the chance of him where we haven't seen the best of him yet. So he's another guy that I think is worth a look later on.
All right, as we go into tier 11, just talking about one guy, and it's the old Smack Talk adage. So this and other videos, we'd rather take young with upside. And Will Myers, while he's been a disappointment, he's still young. He's 25, still has some upside. So if you're looking at kind of your last pick in the draft and you want to grab somebody, you can do a lot worse than Will Myers.
You could. I like Will Myers. I still like him. And I'm going to talk about one guy in the last tier, and that's Mr. Josh Reddick. So I always would joke with Nick Swisher a few years ago that everyone loved him, but he wasn't really great at anything. He was just kind of good at everything. And that's what I think. I put Reddick in that same situation. You're not going to expect a ton out of him, but he's going to be good across the board. So not a bad 5th or 6th outfielder that you can have that is going to be solid. So there's your outfield. We want our social media to have more followers, more likes, more circles, or whatever you do on some of that stuff. Get on our Twitter, get into our Instagram, like us on there.
Ooh, this is going to be thrown awful.
Throw me a pitch.
Ooh, do another one.
Backhand.
If you can aim it at the camera somehow, I'm going to kind of throw it here so you can
I'll hit the camera.
punch it a little bit.
Worst throw ever. Get out of here. You're done.